Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama.
Hare Krishna, Dandas pronouns to all the devotees.
Hare Krishna Prabhu,
Hare Krishna Prabhu. So I take this opportunity to welcome each and every one of you for our Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Today we have His Grace Aniruddha Seva Prabhu. So he is here already and he is going to share the nectar today. So without wasting much time, I request Prabhu to go ahead and share the nectar. Prabhu, thank you for today's.
I'll start with a small kirtan, then we'll.
Yes.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari. 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 Yashodanandana Brajjana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari. 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 Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivakadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivakadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Jaya Radha, Shama Sundar Radha, Shama Sundar Radha. Jaya Radha, Shama Sundar Radha, Shama Sundar Radha. Jaya Radha, Ramana Radha, Ramana Radha. Jaya Radha, Ramana Radha, Ramana Radha. Jaya Radha, Madhava Radha, Madhava Radha. Jaya Radha, Madhava Radha, Madhava Radha. Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Jagannatha. Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Jagannatha. Jaya Baladeva, Jaya Subhadra. Jaya Baladeva, Jaya Subhadra. Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Jagannatha. Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Jagannatha. Jaya Baladeva, Jaya Subhadra. Baladeva, Jaya Subhadra. Jaya Krishna Balaram, Jaya Krishna Balaram. Krishna Balaram, Jaya Krishna Balaram. Jaya Vrindavan Dham, Jaya Vrindavan Dham. Vrindavan Dham, Jaya Vrindavan Dham. Jaya Gauranika, Jaya Gauranika. Gauranika, Jaya Gauranika. Jaya Panchatattva, Jaya Panchatattva. Panchatattva, Jaya Panchatattva. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada. Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada. Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Gurudev, Gurudev. Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Gurudev, Gurudev. Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Brahmishpat, Brahmsparakrachara. Stotra Siddha Samasti. His Divine Grace Abhay Charan Bhakti Dham Swami Srila Prabhupada Maharaj ki. ISKCON Samstapaka Srila Prabhupada Maharaj ki. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada Maharaj ki. Krishna Kripa Murti Srila Prabhupada Maharaj ki. Brahmishpat, Brahmsparakrachara. Stotra Siddha Samasti. His Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj ki. Anant Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki. Anant Koti Acharya Vrinda ki. Ramacharya Srila Dastakar. Prem Ko Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda. Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Radha Kunj Sham Kundagiri Gaur Vrinda ki. वृंदावन मथुरा धाम की, मायापुर नवदीप धाम की, जगन्नाथपुरी द्वारका धाम की, गंगे में यमुना माई की, तुलसी भक्ति देव की, समवेत गौर भक्त वृंद की, ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की, हरिनाम संकीर्तन की, श्रील प्रभुपाद बुक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन की, ऑल ग्लोरीज टू assemble leaders, all glories to assemble leaders, all glories to assemble leaders, all glories to all glories, श्री गुरु श्री गौर गौर प्रेमानंदे, हरि हरि बोल। ओम अज्ञानातिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्री गुरुवे नमः। श्री चैतन्य मनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुं श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सागणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सागणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितां च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेशा गोपिका कांता राधा कांत नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिय। वाञ्छा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यश्च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवसादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. Hare Krishna. So, welcome to all devotees for today's Bhagavatam session, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Please repeat this shloka after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya, Naram Chaiva Narottamam. Devim Saraswatim Vyasam, Tato Jayamudhirayet, Nashta Prayesha Bhadreshu, Nityam Bhagavata Sevayam, Bhagavati Uttama Shloke, Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. Prabhu, will you be able to share the shloka?
Yes, Prabhu, I can do that. You want me to share?
Yes. 45.
Is this what you wanted?
Yes.
Okay.
So we are now taking today's shloka is 4th canto, 29th chapter, 45th shloka, 45 and 46. So I'll read this. Devotees can listen carefully. Shabda Brahmani Dushpare, Charanta Uruvistare, Mantralingar Vyavachinnam, Bhajanto na Vidhuparam. Shabda Brahmani Dushpare, Charanta Uruvistare, Mantralingar Vyavachinnam, Bhajanto na Vidhuparam. Shabda Brahmani Dushpare, Charanta Urvistare, Mantralingar Vyavachinnam, Bhajanto na Vidhuparam. What by word meaning? Shabda Brahmani in the Vedic literature, Dushpare, unlimited, Charantaha, being engaged, Uru, greatly, Vistare, expansive, Mantra of Vedic hymns, Lingai, by the symptoms, Vyavachinnam, partially powerful, the demigods, Bhajantaha, worshipping, Navidhu, they do not know. Param, the supreme. Translation purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Despite the cultivation of Vedic knowledge, which is unlimited, and the worship of different demigods by the symptoms of Vedic mantras, demigod worship does not help one to understand the supreme powerful personality of Godhead. Purport. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 7.20, Kamaisthair Kritagnana Prapadyante Anya Devataha Tam Niyamam Astaya Prakritya Niyataha Swaya. Those whose minds are distorted by material desires surrender into demigods and follow the particular rules and regulations of worship according to their own natures. Most people are interested in worshipping demigods to acquire powers. Each demigod has a particular power. For instance, the demigod Indra, the king of heaven, has power to shower rain on the surface of the globe to give sufficient vegetation to the earth. This demigod is described in the Vedas Vajrahasta Purandaraha. Indra rules the water supply with thunderbolt in his hand. The thunderbolt itself is controlled by Indra. Similarly, other demigods, Agni, Varuna, Chandra, Surya, have particular powers. All these demigods are worshipped in the Vedic hymns through a symbolic weapon. Therefore, it is said here, Mantra Linga Vyavachinnam. By such worship, karmis may obtain the benediction of material opulence in the form of animals, riches, beautiful wives, many followers, and so on. By such material opulence, however, one cannot understand the supreme personality of Godhead. So I'll go to the next shloka, 46. Yada yasyanugrahnati Bhagavan Atma Bhavitaha Sa jahati matim loke vede cha parineshtitam. Yada yasyanugrahnati Bhagavan Atma Bhavitaha Sa jahati matim loke vede cha parineshtitam. Yada yasyanugrahnati Bhagavan Atma Bhavitaha Sajahati matim loke vede cha parineshtitam. Word by word meaning, translation purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Yada, when, yasya, whom, anugrahanati, favors by causeless mercy, Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Atma Bhavitaha, realized by a devotee, Saha, such a devotee, Jahati, gives up, Matim, consciousness, Loke, in the material world, Vede, in the Vedic functions, Cha, also, Parinishtitan, fixed. Translation: when a person is fully engaged in devotional service, he is favored by the Lord, who bestows his causeless mercy. At such a time, the awakened devotee gives up all material activities and ritualistic performances mentioned in the Vedas. Purport. In the previous verse, those who are in knowledge have been described as unable to appreciate the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Similarly, this verse indicates those who are followers of the Vedic rituals, as well as those who are followers of fruitive activities are unable to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In these two verses, both the karmis and jnanis are described as unfit to understand him. As described by Srila Rupa Goswami, only when one is completely free from the mental speculation and fruitive activities, anyabhilashrita shunyam, jnana karmadi anavritam, can one engage in pure devotional service without being polluted by material desires. The significant word atma bhavitaha indicates that the Lord is awakened in one's mind if one constantly thinks of him. A pure devotee is always thinking of the lotus feet of the Lord. Savai mana Krishna padaravindiyo. A pure devotee cannot remain a moment without being absorbed in the thoughts of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This constant thinking of the Lord is described in Bhagavad Gita as satata yuktanam, always engaging in the Lord's service. Bhajatam priti purvakam. This is devotional service in love and affection. Because the Supreme Personality of Godhead dictates to the pure devotee from within, the devotee is saved from all material activities. Even when the Vedic ritualistic ceremonies are considered material activities, because by such activities one is simply elevated to the other planetary systems, the residential abodes of the demigods. Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 9.25, Yanti Deva Vratan Deva Pitrun Yanti Pitrurvrta Bhutani Yanti Bhutejo Yad Majinoki Mam. Those who worship the demigods will take birth among demigods, and those who worship ghosts and spirits will take birth among such beings. Those who worship ancestors go to the ancestors, and those who worship me will live with me. The word Atma Bhavitaha also indicates that a devotee is always engaged in preaching to deliver conditioned souls. It is said of the six Goswamis, Nana Shastra Vicharane Kanipno, Sadharma Samstapakau, Lokanam Hitakarino. A pure devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is always thinking of how the fallen, conditioned souls can be delivered. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, influenced by the merciful devotees, attempt to deliver fallen souls, enlightens the people in general from within by its causeless mercy. If a devotee is blessed by another devotee, he becomes free from karmakanda and jnanakanda activities. As confirmed in Brahma Samhita, Vedeshu Durlama, the Supreme Personality of Godhead cannot be realized through karmakanda and jnanakanda. Adurlabam Atma Bhakto. The Lord is realized only by a sincere devotee. This material world, the cosmic manifestation, is created by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the living entities have come here to enjoy themselves. The Vedic instructions guide them according to different regulative principles, and intelligent people take advantage of these instructions. Thus, they enjoy material life without being disturbed. This is actually illusion, and to get out of this illusion by one's own endeavor is very difficult. The general populace is engaged in material activities, and when people are a little advanced, they become attracted by the ritualistic ceremonies mentioned in the Vedas. However, when one is frustrated in the performance of this ritualistic ceremony, he again comes to material activities. In this way, both the followers of the Vedic rituals and the followers of material activities are entangled in conditional life. These people get the seed of devotional service only by the goodwill of the Guru and Krishna. This is confirmed in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Guru Krishna Prasada Pai Bhakti Lata Bij. When one is engaged in devotional service, he is no longer attracted to material activities. When a man is covered by different designations, he cannot engage in devotional service. One has to become freed from such designative activities, sarvopadi vinirmuktam, and become pure in order to serve the personality of Godhead through purified senses. Rishikesha Sevanam Bhakti Uchate. The service of the Lord through purified senses is called Bhakti Yoga, devotional service. The sincere devotee is always helped by the super soul who resides within the heart of every living entity. As Lord Krishna confirms in Bhagavad Gita 10.10, Tesham Satadevtanam Bhajatam Priti Purvakam Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam Yenamam Upayantite. To those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. This is the stage of becoming free from the contamination of the material world. At such a time, a devotee makes friends with another devotee and his engagement in material activities ceases completely. At that time, he attains the favor of the Lord and loses his faith in material civilization, which begins with Varnashram Dharma. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu speaks clearly of one's becoming liberated from the Varnashram Dharma, the most exalted system of human civilization. At such a time, one feels himself to be perpetually the servant of Lord Krishna, position taken by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself. Naham Vipro Nacha Narapatir Napi Vaishyo Nashudro. Naham Varni Nacha Grihapatir No Vanosto Yatirva. Kintu Prodhyan Nikila Paramananda Purnamrutam Dher. Gopi Bhartu Padakamalyor Dasa Dasanu Dasaha. Padyavali 63. I am not a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya or Shudra. I am not a Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha or Sannyasi. What am I? I am the eternal servant of the servant of the servant, Lord Krishna. Through the disciplic succession, one can attain this conclusion, which is perfect elevation to the spirit, to the transcendental platform. Krishna. So, quite a lengthy purport. Very good. Om Agnantimirandasya Gnananjana Shalakya Chakshuniltamena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. So, this is the chapter which is titled Conversation between Narada and Prachina Barhi. So, here the Prachina Barhi is already a great devotee, but then he's still confounded by this materialistic activities and how to solve the problems of life. So he want to again educate the devotees. He want to again reiterate the facts. So now he met Narada Muni, again great exalted pure devotee, pure Vaishnava. So he's repeating his lamenting or his questions. Like he's again telling in the first sloka itself, he says, my dear Lord, we could not appreciate completely the purport of your allegorical story of King Puranjana. So King Puranjana, as we know, it's a very allegorical or a comparative narration of what the Jiva undergoes and what all the facilities he gets and what are the problems he faces and what is that method he has to use to get out of those problems. So all these things are mentioned in that. Actually, those who are perfect in spiritual knowledge can understand, but for us who are overly attached to fruitive activities, to realize the purpose of your story is very difficult. So he is taking a very, very humble position, telling that I'm not spiritually qualified. I'm not understood properly because I'm not in that platform. So please explain, elucidate again. And he's also telling I've been overly attached to fruitive activities, so I'm not able to realize what exactly is this Puranjana's story, how I can apply in my life. Like that, he's just taking very humble position. It's not that he doesn't understand, but so you want to get that nectar from Narada Muni. So you want to get that advice from him, and so that people can, when they're like now we are doing the Shravana Kirtana, we can again make this a point to include in our lifestyle and then adopt it accordingly. So like this, he keeps now Narada Muni starts, and then now this conversation, what the slokas, what we are talking about is actually Narada Muni's mentioning. So he starts with this the second shloka. The great sage Narada Muni continued, you must understand that Puranjana, the living entity, transmigrates according to his own work into different types of body, which may be 1 leg, 2 leg, 3 leg, 4 leg, many leg, or simply legless. Transmigrating into these various types of bodies, the living entity, as the so-called enjoyer, is known as Puranjana. So he's giving the background right from how we have come into this existence, that we actually transmigrate from to different bodies according to the guna karma, whatever we have done in the previous life. So all this 1 leg, 2 leg, 3 leg, 4 leg, many leg, simple legless. So all these creatures we come into, animals, and maybe the 1 legged is actually called as the ghosts, ghouls. Then 2 legged is the human race, and then some few animals, and then the 3 legged. Again, there are some animals, and then 4 legged. Again, mainly the animals and reptiles, and like the many legged, like centipede. Then simply legless, like probably snakes and so many other creatures. So like this, it keeps transmigrating because of the fact that it wants to enjoy. And so this is the living entity situation. And then he says, the person I've described as unknown is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the master and eternal friend of the living entity. Since the living entities cannot realize the Supreme Personality of Godhead by material names, activities, or qualities, he remains everlastingly unknown to the conditioned soul. So because we have been put into this materialistic body and materialistic situation, so we are caught up in this. The soul is actually completely pure spiritual in nature, but it is encased in this material body, which is made of the skin, bones, flesh, all the pancha bhuta. From that it is made, and it is actually getting completely perplexed and not able to really decide what to do, how to go about it. Although there are this gross senses and the subtle senses have, like mind, intelligence, and false ego, have that capacity to overcome, but it can be only probably used in a very limited way, and the living entity keeps on suffering. Make some attempts, and then it keeps getting bewildered. So further, in 36 and 37 and 38, very interesting. This actually gives the real solution to the problem. So Narthamuni is telling the real interest of the living entity is to get out of this nescience that causes him to endure repeated birth and death. The only remedy is to surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead through his representative. Unless one renders devotional service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva, one cannot possibly become detached from this material world, nor can he possibly manifest real knowledge. So this is the very, very hard-hitting statement and very wonderful shloka. Athatmano artha bhutasya yato anartha parampara. Samsrutis tad vyavachedo bhaktya paramaya guru. So bhaktya paramaya guru. So there is here actually guru is mentioned as the Lord, Supreme Lord, or his representative by Prabhupada. So Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Samahitaha Sadri Chinena Vairagyam Gnanam cha Janayishyati. So Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Samahitaha. So this is the so you have to Bhakti Yoga Samahita. So Bhakti Yoga, you have to render devotional service unto Vasudeva Bhagavati. So similarly, there is this shloka even in Bhagavatam also. Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga. It's there in the first canto itself. 1.2 Bhagavata Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha Janeti Ashuvaragyam Gnanam cha tad ahitukam. So this is in when Sutta Goswami is mentioning to all the sages. So there it is mentioned. Similar shloka is here. Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Samahitaha Sadri Chinena Vairagyam. So here also Vairagyam comes. Basically detachment, and then Gnanam, the knowledge. You have to get to acquire some knowledge about the Lord, about his opulences, and this knowledge has to come from the pure realized souls, not from any ordinary people, but that knowledge has to come, and that knowledge should be ultimately be applied in our life. Just hearing knowledge, ISKCON se ISKCON nahi hona chahiye. We are mostly of that nature. ISKCON is this ears, con in Hindi, and then it goes to the other con, the other side of the ear. So that should not happen. Actually, it should remain manifest. We should start churning it out and really deliberate upon those what the acharyas, what the sadhus, santas are telling, and then probably apply in the mind. It's not possible for a conditioned devotee to immediately apply everything. So it has to be a gradual process. That is important. What is important is that this is the process is inculcated in a very, very small quantities. Small quantities, small progress will actually give us the result. It's like gade, kannadallu gade idilla. Honey, honey kudidre halla. Tene tene kudidre vella. So like this, a small one drop of water can make a big lake. So like this, it has to be accumulated, and then slowly we have to progress. So here, as I mentioned, that is, you have to get out of the innocence to so that you can come out of the repeated birth and death. Only remedy is to surrender to the Supreme Lord, and have the knowledge right from the right sources, and easily we can come out of this conditioned stage of life. Because in today's world, we are conditioned so much that we are surrendered to so many materialistic things. We are actually surrendered to so many gadgets and so many acquisitions in properties or in some facilities and comforts, that we keep on getting entangled with that without really understanding the temporariness or the deteriorating factor of these facilities. Because how much ever we try to enjoy, there is a limitation. So the senses are very limited having capacity, but because of to please our own ego and our own, to fulfill our status and things like that, we keep on acquiring, and then then we just get the suffering out of it. So in this, Prabhupada mentions that material existence is actually a chain of action and reaction brought about by different types of fruitive activities. This is the cause of birth and death. One can stop this process only by engaging oneself in the service of Vasudeva. So like this, wonderful purports, Prabhupada in this also. So in this also, Prabhupada gives that shloka, Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Janayati Ashuvaryakam Nanam Chayat Ahitkam. So one is the detachment from materialistic activities, and another is the attachment to Krishna, to the spiritual activities. So like this, Narad Muni is giving the essence, and then the 38th shloka is also very important. So here he says, O best of kings, one who is faithful, one is always hearing the glories of Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is always engaged in the culture of Krishna consciousness and hearing the Lord's activities, very soon becomes eligible to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face. So Bhagavatam is telling you can have face-to-face darshan of the Lord. Most of us will be hankering for this kind of a opportunity. So it says, so Achirad eva Rajarse Syad Achyuta, to take shelter of the Katha or the Leelas or Harikatha, the Lord. Shrinmataha Shraddhadanasya Nityada Syad Adhiya. So that cultivation should be there of Shrinmata, hearing always, and then Shraddhadanasya, faithfully or with a lot of interest, and Nityada. Then your purpose will be full. So in the same way, even in the first canto also, that we have this 1.3, in the same of the 1.2 also, second chapter, this shloka also comes, Shrunutam Sukata Krishna, Punya Shravana Kirtanaha, Hrudayantasto hi abhadrani, Vidunoti Suhrat Satam. So here, that the more we Shrunuta Swakata, so Krishna's pastimes and glories, the more we hear, then we can actually, and then also do the kirtana. Then Hrudayantasto hi abhadrani, what is there in the heart, all the kalmasha or the materialistic desires which have been completely fulfilled in our heart, these can be eradicated by Suhrat Sata, by the devotee, and when properly heard by virtuous devotees, then this can be removed. So like this, there is so many shlokas. Actually, all these are hammering the same point. 100 times, probably 1,000 times, maybe shlokas have come about these aspects what we just discussed. I mean, if you go to Bhagavad Gita, there are some Satatam Yuktayam, Bhajante Priti Purvaka. So many shlokas are there. Manmana Mohammed Bhakto, Madhyaji Mam Namaskuru. All these shlokas are actually talking about the same aspect of how you can continue in this getting you engage yourself in spiritual activities, glories of the Lord. So like this, it is keep on hammering, but it is only people like us that they are not so so much interested, or maybe especially in my case, I'm talking about my case, so that not interested to take up this very diligently. And then we try to test many other things. We try to execute so many other activities and trying to find some solution for all our materialistic problem, but actually it will be in vain. So it takes probably several years of practice. That's why it's called sadhana bhakti, Vaidhi sadhana. Swami has mentioned that it is Vaidhi, because of Vaidhi is something to do with some regulative principles, where the acharyas give from a bona fide sampradaya. They give these practices that you do it, and keep on doing it like that. So that is why we do the chanting of the holy names, and then we also follow the regulative principles. So by doing such things on a regular basis, on a daily basis, inculcate this, then there is a chance that we might fully realize or understand the meaning of what this spiritual life is all about, and what are the real clues or the solutions that are there, and then how we can apply in our life. So now coming back to this shloka 45. So here, actually, a previous shloka talked about, I think, the 44th talked about, yeah. Nonetheless, even inquiring, do not know perfectly. Yeah, here 42 to 44 talks about those great devotees, Brahmaji, starting from Brahma, Shiva, Manu, Daksha. All the Mahajanas are here, Sanaka, Sanatana, and all the 7 rishis, and myself. Narada is telling about himself that all of us have spoken authoritatively on Vedic literature, because out of their so much of compassion, they are giving this knowledge, the ocean of knowledge, so that people can try to inculcate in their lives. We are very powerful because of austerities, meditation, and education. Nonetheless, even after inquiring about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whom we always see, we do not know perfectly about him. So they are expressing, Narada Muni is expressing that in spite of knowing so much about his glories, but still we have not understood him perfectly, because he does so many mysterious activities. His leelas are so much possible not understandable by our mundane senses. We keep bewildered. We get bewildered about his activities. Probably if we take the Leela of Bali Maharaj and Vamandev, how Vamandev came in the form of a small Brahmana, that dwarf Brahmana, and then how he asked something very, very flimsy for a big emperor. Bali Maharaj is such a glorious emperor, and he has got, he can give tons and tons of material wealth, so much of land, so much of all these cows, or those, because cows are considered those days the asset, the perfect asset. So many things you could have asked, but he just asked for 3 steps, and that was a very bewildering. And by that, just the 3 steps, which is hardly 3 feet, then he took the whole, he measured the whole, he expanded himself in such a way that he went to the netherly planets, and then the upper planets, and then touched the spiritual sky. So like this, he created that kind of a very, very unbelievable situation, that Bali Maharaj was completely baffled. And then when he asked for his 3rd step, he asked to keep it on my head itself. So that was the only step, only place which was left. by the lords. So like this, he does these kinds of activities, and he's completely bewildering the devotees. So now here, Narad is telling that the Vedic knowledge. Okay, what about Vedic knowledge? How? So he is explaining that Vedic knowledge actually is very unlimited. It's a huge source. And then here, most of this worship is here meant for address to the demigods, the Vedic mantras. So here, demigod worship is given some lot of priority. So again, in the Bhagavad Gita, there is a reference to this when Krishna explains to Arjuna in the 2nd chapter. He says, Yam imam pushpitam vacham pravadanti avapaschitaha vedavada rata partha nanyad asti iti vadinaha. So like this shloka 42 is there. And then 43 tells what actually, by doing this Vedic practices, what we get. Kamatmana swargapara bhoga ishwarya halapradam kriya vishesha bahulam bhoga ishwarya gatim pratim. So these Vedas are actually considered as pushpitam vacham. So they are flowery language. They entice living entity to take up to that practice, Vedic practice. They basically, it's more of karma kanda, where you do some activity to get some result, immediate results. So that it will help you in your material life, maybe money, education, or getting good benefit for your family, getting children married, getting children educated. So like this, acquisition of it's all related to the material wealth. So with poor fund of knowledge people, they take to this avipaschitaha. These are the poor fund of knowledge people. And Vedavada Rata Partha, that means they are always talking of the Vedavada. They're always glorifying Vedas, and this is the best method. If you do this, you will get this. They always advocate about Vedavada. And for them, they say that nothing else is there. Nanya Dasti Vadinaha. And they argue, no. This is what? Karma Kanda is the only thing. We can get the benefit. We can, whatever. If the problem comes also, no problem. Lord will fulfill. That is our understanding. But actually, it is not the case. There is a limitation for Lord also, giving that kind of a wealth and happiness. And then Janma Karma Phalapradam, Kamatmana Swargapara. So they want to fulfill their lusty desires and enjoy their senses. And Swargapara, they want to go to the heavenly planets because they can enjoy much more there. Then, because they are heard in so many Puranas. And if you look at even the Puranas, basically the 6 Puranas which are in the mode of ignorance, the 6 Puranas which talks about mode of passion, 6 Puranas there are which are talking about the goodness, mode of goodness. So like this, they get attracted to some of them, one of these Puranas, and then they want to enjoy. Then Janma Karma, good birth and good activities they should do, and then they should always get results out of it, fruitive results. If they do some, so that means they take to some Dhanvantri Homa or this Gana Homa, so many homas to address to the demigods, and then ask the Dhanam Dehi, Putram Dehi, like this, they keep asking and they keep getting those results. But the more they get in this material assets and material facilities, the more they get entangled. That they don't understand. So Bhoga Ishwarya Gatim Pratim. So by this, they see that progress is only by getting Aishwarya or the opulence. So like this, they get entangled. And again, further in the 3rd canto, 3rd chapter, so it is mentioned very clearly. Ignartat karmananyatra lokoyam karma bandhanaha. So if you don't do this Ignarta, Yagna, sacrifices to the Lord, Hari, Krishna, then you will get into karma bandhana. So that you have to be careful. That's what so here again, there is a shloka Prabhupada is giving that kama is tested vitagnana prapadyante anya devataha. So they are always kama there means different varieties of kama they want to fulfill their desires. And then kritagnana, so their heart is completely it is captivated by that. It is captured by this kind of a propensity. And then they are prapadyante, they are surrendered to anya devata, to the demigods. So what the demigods do, because they get these devotees who are attracted to them. So now the Lord demigod is also obligated that he has to give something back, because they're showing so much of love, they are requesting something from me. And demigods are already possessed of so much of opulence, so they cannot say, if suppose he doesn't give the opulence, give it back to the devotee, then who will come? Nobody will come to the person. Like for example, if you now so many politicians and so many ministers are there, so he needs the followers. He needs people to come behind. He needs some supporters to chant wherever he goes. He could be a criminal, worst of the worst criminal. A person, we had a situation in Karnataka where the minister, he actually had been accused. I mean, he was acquitted in convicted in a crime, and then he had for the bribery and all this amassing of wealth, and then he was released from the jail. And the moment he was released from he took a Padayatra procession, and people from all over Karnataka, from other states, they all come in a big procession. They did a massive procession, lakhs and lakhs of people for welcoming a criminal, a fugitive. So like this is the way people. And then obviously, do you think that on a working day, all these people will go and then meet their leader and they'll welcome him? No, they would have been bribed, or they would have given some facilities, bus charge, ticket, rail ticket and food, all those things, some few thousands for each person. So they were, coming, anyway, it is coming bitty, free of cost. So they will come, they will spend some time. So like this, they welcomed, and then they did this wonderful celebration for a criminal. So it goes on. So now this is because he's a materialistic person. But demigods are little. Demigods are really wanted. They want to have some followers. They want somebody to glorify them. At the same time, they're also doing good. Like because the demigod also know that such a person who is coming to me asking for material wealth, I cannot elevate him. I cannot immediately transfer them to Krishna. I cannot send him there because he is not prepared still. A person who wants to study up to say a diploma, you cannot push him to do IIT or IIM. He is not still in that level of understanding, or his intelligence. It's not there. He cannot, probably do it. Even to crack an entrance exam of a management course, it takes probably a lifetime. So then the demigod perfectly understand this, and then they try to give respond to all these kind of devotees. But at the same time, heart in heart, they know that they have to refer ultimately back to the Lord. Even if whatever favors or even prayers are offered to the demigods, it is mentioned very clearly in Bhagavad Gita also that this all is referred back to the Supreme Lord, because all these demigods are also the designated administrators, or they are the servitors, eternal servitors of the Lord, and they are ultimately reporting it back to Krishna. So tam niyamam asthaya. So whatever niyamas, rules, regulations they have to follow, according to which comes to their mind, prakritya, naturally they come to their thing, they will follow it, and they'll keep that astha, their faith, and they'll do some seva. So like this, demigods worship is happening. So most of the people in today's 90% of them are all into the demigod worship, and they keep getting, like here he says, Prabhupada mentions that demigod is described in Vedas as Vajrahasta Purandara. Like for example, Indra is giving the water supply. So he is having a thunderbolt in his hand, and that is how he used that thunderbolt. He called that. He also had that Samavartaka, the big huge cloud, Samvartaka. He called when Krishna had opposed worship of Indra. When he told this all the Vrindavan Vasis to Nanda Maharaj and all, that don't do this Indra worship. Actually, it is of no use. You ultimately are worshipping him. He is just a demigod. You have to ultimately worship Krishna. So he wanted to say that message, and for that he made a complaint saying that no, this is not actually that you should do, and which Indra overheard. He came to know that they're not going to offer me this time their sacrifices, their offerings. So he got offended, and then he called Samartaka, and then poured heavily torrential rains in the Vrindavan area. So there, and then Krishna again, as a small lad, again his Urukrama, he's called Urukrama. He did his extraordinary activities. So he lifted the Govardhan hill itself and protected all the Brajavasis. So this shows his compassion. This is his mode of service. This is ultimate. What Krishna does it cannot be comparable. The demigods cannot do these kinds of magical, mystical events. But Krishna showed that, and that is how then Indra finally came to his senses. Yes, oh my God, I'm actually controlled by this Krishna, Ishvara Parama Krishna. So now I have to surrender to him. He surrendered, and then ultimately learned a big lesson. So like this aspect goes on, and even the demigods ultimately surrender. Brahma also had that bewilderment. Shiva also had that bewilderment, but ultimately they will go back to Krishna and then seek his help and continue their activities. So like this, Prabhupada finally says, by such material opulences, however, one cannot understand Supreme Personality of Godhead. So just by acquiring these kind of material opulences, wealth, you cannot understand. So then the next shloka talks about that when a person is fully engaged in devotional service, he is favored by the Lord, who bestows his causeless mercy. At such a time, the awakened devotee gives up all material activities and ritualistic performances mentioned in the Vedas. So he has to come to this platform after trying the Karma Kanda, after trying Jnana Yoga, after trying probably Dhyana Yoga, and then Ashtanga Yoga, many of these yogas. Then finally he realizes that all these are futile. I cannot control, I cannot progress. I'm not getting that happiness. I'm still suffering. So he understands that Bhavanam Janmanamante Vasudeva. So that so after suffering for so many years and meditating upon for so many years, then he will come to understand that Lord is the Supreme Lord. Vasudeva only. I have to surrender only unto him, and only if I surrender unto him, then all my problems will be solved. So Bhavanam Janmanamante Gnanavan Ma Prapadyate. So that knowledge, if you get also Gnana, it should be this kind of a knowledge which takes you to the real path. Vasudeva Sarvamiti Samatma Sudurlabha. So Vasudeva itself is all complete. He's the ultimate personality. And once he comes to that conclusion, then only he can that kind of devotees are very rare. But it takes millions and millions if you go by the Jnana Yoga and things like that. So now, as far as devotees are concerned, many of the devotees we have seen in our own life how we have got changed, how we have transformed from being a karmakandi to at least take this sadhana bhakti. Because we also have personally we face some difficulty in life, and then in my case also I faced a big difficulty in my life, and then suddenly I had this Prabhupada's because we are under the shelter of Prabhupada. I was not even initiated that time, but we were doing some chanting, and it dawned upon that oh my God, ISKCON is the only way, Prabhupada surrender is the only way, and Hare Krishna mantra is the only solace. By doing that, taking that very seriously, the problem got solved. Then I could really take the bold steps in coming to KC. So like that, we all after getting hit badly, then only we'll realize. So Japatiya Mare. So the Maya has to give one big slap to us, then only we'll realize. Because Maya is there closely. Pashate Maya, Japatiya Mare. Then only we'll come to this spiritual understanding. And slowly it came, of course, everything for the good. And we got into association of devotees and we continue our practices. So here Prabhupada talks about devotees, how they have to be fully engaged. So like Amrish Maharaj was completely engaged in the service of the Lord. And then what is that Rupa Goswami has given? The real essence of bhakti, Uttama bhakti, the pure devotional service if you have to execute is that Anyabhilashita Shunyam, Jnana Karmadi Pravritam, Anukulyena Krishnanu Shilana Bhakti Uttama. So this is the Anyabhilashita Shunyam, Jnana Karmadi. So this Jnana Karma or this kind of categories of worship should be avoided. And then Anukulyena Krishnanu Shilanam. So we have to do it in a very good mood, or in a so that is favorable devotional practice, not out of by somebody's force, or for some somebody is forcing, or in a very angry mood, or in a very dispassionate mood. No, not like that. In a very favorable mood, you have to render devotional service, and Anushilanam. That Anushilanam also in Goswami mentions in the Satsandarbhas that the root cause for all the man, the real the entity faces the root cause is starting from bhaya, the fear. So the fear actually captivates him. Why the fear captivates him? Because there is duality in this material world. So like this, Jiva Goswami gives a unique kind of an explanation, and he comes from this analysis. And because the dualities are there, the loss and profit, happiness and distress, and then you have heat and cold. So because he cannot manage in this material world with these dualities, so he has this fear, and because of these dualities, he commits under the modes of material nature. He commits certain karmas, activities, and then he counteracts. He actually get entangled in this material world, and he does so much of this activity without knowing the good, without knowing the bad of it, and he might be in sattva-guna, rajoguna, and all that, purely because of avidya, because of the ignorance. The moment he is in ignorance, he cannot come out of the knowledge, and he suffers. He does all this, gets engaged in this activity. And when is that he can really come out of this avidya? Is only that when he takes his face to Krishna, when he turns towards the spiritual side, when he gets in contact with the devotees, when he gets in contact with the sadhu, shastra, and guru, then only he can come back. So like that, he gives a wonderful analysis, and then says that bhakti is the perfect marga. So here also, bhajatam pritipurvakam, that satatam kirtayantamam yadantasta dhrudavartaha, bhajatam pritipurvakam. Then only if you do it with a prior loving devotion service, then only you can attain Lord. Otherwise, it is not possible. And also, the more we get entangled in this ritualistic activities, then we will get attracted to the devatas, but we'll go back. Yanti deva yanti pitrun yanti pitrota bhutani yanti bhuteja mad yanti madhyajinatima. So your destination also get dependent on the whom you approach, which demigod you approach, what activity you do. Even if you're worshipping pitrus or forefathers, you will go back to that pitruloka. So like this, you get, and then once you go there, then even if you go to the heavenly planets, you have to come back because of the your pious activities, pious credits are finished. You have to come back. So like this, it's a continuous journey between one planet to another planet, and the journey it goes on. And finally, he says that Prabhupada gives that what the position Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took, that Gopi Bhartu Pada Kamalyo Dasa Dasanu Dasaha. So this is the position of the eternal servitorship. And once we do that, you can be in any platform, in any varnashrama. You can still practice bhakti yoga and then come to this level of understanding. Then easily Lord will take care of the devotee. He can take him back to this spiritual abode. Hare Krishna Prabhu, I think I'll conclude the class. If there are any questions, doubts, or comments, realization, they can share.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. So thank you so much. So thank you for so nicely explaining the aspect of how we need to choose, how we need to select, even though everything is from the Vedas, how we'll have to choose the ones which are relevant to us, which are relevant to bhakti, and how it is not so great to look at activities that are mentioned with respect to karma kanda and all that, which is actually not bearing any fruit because it doesn't help us to progress. So thank you so much for bringing that out nicely, Prabhu. Yeah. So I would request the devotees to kindly go ahead and then unmute, and then if there are any questions or any comments, kindly go ahead. Devotees, over to you all.
Okay, Prabhu, I think there are no doubts. No comments. We'll close with this.
Hare Krishna, Seva Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare
Thank you
Hare, Hare
for wonderful
Hare.
class, Prabhu.
Jai, Jai, Jai. All devotees mercy.
Oh, we missed your Dasar Padagalu today.
Dasara Padu. Okay. I'll just give you one this song. So this is there actually in one of the shlokas. It's there in Bhagavatam, but Purandarasa has given this song to us. So, which is the shloka? It is actually, yeah, 4.29:33. So I was surprised actually. I was reading this while I was preparing for this class. I came across this shloka, and then how neatly he has mentioned that, 30:31. It's already there in the Bhagavatam. And the same thing he has put it in a very nice way. The 30:31 says, the living entity is exactly like a dog who overcome with hunger, goes from door to door for some food. According to his destiny, he sometimes receives punishment and is driven out, and at other times receives a little food to eat. Similarly, the living entity, being influenced by so many desires, wanders in different species of life according to destiny. Sometimes he is high and sometimes he is low. Sometimes he goes to the heavenly planets, sometimes to hell, sometimes to the middle planets, and so on. So it's talking about how the dog. So the same aspect has been given by Purandaradasa in this bhajan. Kurudu nai santege bantante. Kurudu nai santege bantante. Adu yake banto. Kurudu nai santege bantante. So Kurudu nai, a blind dog. He says, blind dog has come to the fair, a big market exhibition fair. And we don't know for what reason it came. So he says, Khanda sakkare hitavillavante, khanda elubu kadidi tante, hendira makkala necchi tante, kondu hoguvaga yarillavante. So khanda sakkare. So he want to enjoy the the sakkare. Khanda sakkare is basically the
Sugar, sweet.
Sugar. What sugar? A very solid sugar, no? Kal sakre. But in English, it has a word. So that sugar or jaggery, whatever it is, that sugar it came to enjoy. But even that, it found it's not giving it pleasure. Khanda elubu kadidi tante. So because of that, it was not giving pleasure. He went to bones and started eating bones, and then it keeps always chewing, and it completely enjoyed. Hendira makkala nechitante. He depended on all the wives and children because he thought that they will give him protection, they will give him happiness. But after that, when death came, nobody is there to, even he cannot take anything. Everything he has to leave to them and go. Kondu hoguvaga yarillavante. Bharadi angadi hokkitante. So he entered so many shops, so many malls, so many entertainment centers. Why? To find in search of happiness. Tiruvi donneyalli ikkidarante. Bittante. All people, why? If a dog goes to a very fancy mall, do you think that a street dog, if somebody will allow inside, they will bang? No, the security guard will come and hit him. That's what he's telling. Tiruvi donneyalli ikkidarante. Pakka Kannada. Oh my God. Mareterinnu vyarthavante. So he is not able to forget all these things. He keeps doing this repeatedly, and then narakadolage bidditante, and then finally he landed in hell. Veda Shastrava Noditante. He read all the Veda Shastras. He thought he'll become Pandit. Gadeya Madi Bittitante. So it ultimately resulted only as a Gade, like a proverb. Whatever he did as activity, people just used it as a proverb because it's not metal. There is no strength or there is no purpose in whatever he did. Hadi Tappi Nadadu. Yamana Badegeta Guriyaitante. So he diverted his route. He took to different routes and followed different paths and got nice abode of Yamadharmaraya. And Nana Janma Vittitante, Manavanagi Huttitante. So many births it took, and then finally it even got some Manava Janma, human life. Kanana Tirugutante. He wandered into so many regions, so many forests. Tanu Tannane Mareitante. He forgot about himself and he did all his activities. Manganap Kaili Manikya. This is also a proverb. He is quoting in this Kriti that if you give diamond to a monkey, what is the use? What the monkey will do? What monkey doesn't know the value of it, so it may throw it away, or it may treat it as a rubbish, or it may treat it as a stone. Manikya kottante hangu hingu kaladitante. He just chalta hai, do this way, do that way. Somehow he managed his life. Ranga Purandara Vitalana Maratu Bhanga Bahala Pattitante. So by forgetting the service and surrender to Lord Purandara Vitala, Bhanga, he got lot of insult. He suffered heavily. He was insulted, and he was made fun of. Bhanga Bahala Pattitante. So that is the situation of this living entity. So in a conditional situation, this is what it is. He's very nicely, in a very humoric way, he has depicted. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu. Very nice. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you.
Okay, Prabhu, we'll conclude.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Pancha Kalpatarusha Krupa Sindhubhyo Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Gurudev Maharaj Ki Jai. All glories to Assembly Duties. All glories to Assembly Duties. All glories to all glories. Shri Guru Gauranga. Gaur Premanandi. Hare Hare.
Hare. So thank you, Prabhu, once again.
Yes,
And thank you, devotees,
for giving an opportunity. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. I'll end